And today we'll be briefing you not only from the police but also from the immigration. Like I usually time to say, welcome. Now we'll call our boss Moses Carter on the table to narrate what you are here for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Honorable Louis Norman, and your entire staff of media relations at the Liberia National Police. We want to appreciate all of you for working very hard in getting the necessary information that we can proactively keep our public informed of unfoldings. I want to use this medium to bring you greetings from the Joint Security. And when we talk about the Joint Security, we're talking about security institutions that are under the mandate or the supervision of the Minister of Justice, or you say the Attorney General, Honorable Frank Usadin. I want to recognize at this press conference my colleague from the Liberia Immigration Service, where the Commissioner General is none other but Commissioner Robert Woody, Honorable Abraham Dolly. He has joined me in this press conference today. What you are seeing, members of the press, is a collaboration. We have formed what we call the media relations team of the Joint Security. And this media relations team is intended to keep the public proactively informed of unfoldings that are happening at various joint security institutions. This relationship is going to continue. As a matter of fact, we are solidifying our presence and making sure that we can proactively engage ourselves with you members of the press and the public in keeping you informed of unfoldings. The Inspector General of Police, Honorable Patrick Sudu, is very, very appreciative of the collaboration that and the coordination that we've established with members of joint security institutions. And so it is with pleasure that I use this opportunity to welcome all of you at the headquarters of the Liberia National Police, where we treat people with respect for their fundamental rights and dignity. And so, my colleague, I want to appreciate you, though we know we are in Corona times, but I know my colleague has been tested and he's now Corona positive, and that's why you see me shaking his hands. And so, with not much ado, I'd like to go straight into why we have invited you here, members of the press. We've invited you to provide you updates, and the updates today are going to be provided from the perspectives of the Liberia Immigration Service, LIS, and the Liberia National Police. We are two distinguished heads of press and public affairs of these two institutions, and we'll be providing you some useful updates that you can use to propagate the message to the general public. So from the police perspective, we'll begin with this angle of our update. The Liberia National Police has investigated, charged, and forwarded to court a 39-year-old resident of the Rabas International Airport Highway, identified as Chisman Cole, for multiple charges ranging from aggravated assault, criminal attempt to commit murder, possession and sale of physical objects for leather use, felonious restraint, and theft of property, based upon a complaint filed on early September to October 8, 2020 by 27 victims who are falling prey to the actions of suspect Cole's alleged criminal act. Investigation further confirmed that suspect Cole lured the victims to his home through social media, thereby inflicting serious bodily injuries and threatening to expose them if anyone hears his act perpetrated on these victims. He was arrested based upon a tip-off from friends of a missing person who was allegedly kept in suspect Cole's fence on the Robertsville Highway. Investigation further confirmed that a search and seizure warrant was issued on the premises of suspect Cole, and the following items were discovered: one single-barrel shotgun pistol, 2 live rounds, 1 Liberian passport numbered L218522 belonging to complainant Emmanuel Freeman, 1 camouflage trousers, 1 military trousers, kitchen knife, screwdrivers, scissors, and 160 United States dollars, which suspect Chisholm Cole claims is his business money. During police preliminary probe, it was established that suspect Cole admitted interacting with several of the victims, flogged them, and seized their properties on grounds that they were gays, in other words, same-sex partners, and told them to go and sin no more. He has been sent to court by the Liberia National Police for prosecution in violation of Chapter 14, Section 14.20, Chapter 10, Section 10.1, Chapter 17, Section 17.11, Chapter 14, Section 14.20, Section 10.1, and Chapter 15, Section 15.53 of the Penal Code of Liberia, respectively. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, let us brief you on an armed robbery situation. The anti-robbery unit of the Liberia National Police is investigating a 19-year-old man identified as Garius Mulba, a resident of Riverview Community, Hotel Africa, for allegedly stabbing victim Linda Milton, 37 years old, on her right breast and left hand in an attempt to take away her phone, her cell phone. During police investigations conducted with both suspects and victim, it was established that approximately at 10 p.m. on October 20, 2020, victim Linda was coming from her Capital Bypass residence behind the BMC Building Material Center store when she was allegedly attacked by the suspect with a kitchen knife. Investigation further confirmed that based upon the shooting of victim Milton, the shouting, not the shooting, of victim Milton, several residents came to her rescue, apprehended suspect Mulba, and turned him over to the Liberia National Police. The suspect is currently undergoing investigation at our headquarters here at the Liberia National Police and is pending court trial. Let's move over to another rape issue. The Women and Children Protection Section, which is for short WAPS, of the Liberia National Police, has arrested, investigated, subsequently charged, and sent to court suspect George Dankwan, 60 years of age, and a resident of Mama Point, for allegedly raping a 14-year-old minor of the same address. According to the victim, on September 8, 2019, her aunt, identified as Masa Dankwan, who is the wife of suspect George Dankwan, the wife of suspect George Dankwan, left her home. And some of you may want to know, why are you emphasizing? Because the suspect is the wife of the complainant. Left her home and went to church. While they were there, the victim narrated suspect Dankwan sent her in the room to read her book. In the process of reading her book, the suspect entered the room, locked the door, and forcibly inserted his penis into her. The victim further explained that between September 27, 2019 to the end of October 2019, her aunt's husband, the suspect, allegedly sexually abused her on multiple occasions in their bedroom, Mr. and Mrs. Dankwan's bedroom, and threatened to kill her if she tells her aunt. The victim further explained that the action of her aunt's husband caused her to flee the house for fear of being harmed by her aunt's husband. Based upon medical report and testimonies from suspect Dankwan and a 14-year-old victim, the suspect, Mr. Dankwan, has been charged by the Women and Children Protection Section of the Liberia National Police with rape, which contravenes Chapter 14, Section 14.70 of the new rape law of the Republic of Liberia, and the suspect has been forwarded to court for prosecution. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, it is important to also inform you, and those of you following us on social media, that the autopsies on the remains of 4 of our citizens who died under unidentified circumstances have been completed by the Liberian government at the St. Moses Funeral Home. The autopsies on the remains of the LRA employees and deceased victims from the internal audit agencies have been completed, and the autopsies commenced on Monday and completed on Tuesday of this week. The process was conducted in the presence of representatives and families of Abra Peters, peace be to his ashes, George Vambutu of the LRA also, peace be to his ashes, Emmanuel Nyenswa of the Internal Audit Agency, the former general, the head of the Internal Audit Agency, peace be to his ashes, and of course, it was observed by civil society organizations, including the Justice Forum Liberia, the Women Empowerment Network, and the Press Union of Liberia, which was represented by media institutions, inclusive of the Front Page Africa, the newspaper, the Inquirer newspaper, and of course the Independent Inquirer newspaper, and some international onlines that were there. The Heritage publisher also observed the process. The family of Gifty Peters, it is important, members of the press, to underscore that the family of Gifty Peters, peace be to her ashes, and that of Gifty Lamar and Abba Peters, peace be to their ashes, declined attending to observe the autopsies on the basis of their own grounds. The pathologists were asked by observers as to what influence the absence of the family would have had on the autopsy, and it was answered that the conduct of an autopsy does not necessarily mandate observers to be in attendance. As such, it is a forensic scientific examination, and the result thereof remains very constant, and that can be retested at any given time. And so whether the family was represented or not, it does not in any way affect the conduct of the process of autopsy. The government of Liberia will be receiving a report from the pathologist in a matter of 2 weeks as of Tuesday of this week. 2 weeks. In other words, 14 days. The government will be receiving report from the pathologists, the Liberian pathologists. It is also important to inform you, members of the press, that it was unfortunate at the 11th hour for the families of Gifty Lamar and Albert Peters to decline from attending the process on grounds that they did not have confidence in the process, after they had initially at the Ministry of Justice 2 times confirmed confidence in the Liberian pathologists. Besides the point, they were also given the opportunity to either recommend independent pathologists from anywhere around the world or a medical doctor to work along with the Liberian pathologists to ensure an open, transparent, and credible autopsy being conducted. The family expressed confidence in the Liberian pathologists. We want to use this media to appreciate the families of Yeswa for attending the autopsy, the autopsy being conducted, and that of the family of George Fambotu of the LRA, who witnessed or observed the process from start to finish on day 2 of the autopsy. We want to appreciate them for turning out and cooperating with the Liberian government in this endeavor. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we are also pleased to bring you findings of the report of the case that obtained at West Point during the execution of the state of emergency. The Liberia National Police Professional Standard Division conducted its investigation of its officers to establish whether our officers were involved in any misconduct in West Point, the township of West Point, when it was alleged that during the enforcement of the state of emergency, our officers, specifically one of the officers identified as Soni Jala, had kicked a pot of boiling water on a kid that would have been one of the promising citizens of our country, Mensa, from West Point. The police did its professional standard investigation and found no, link to our officers being linked to the act or the allegation that emanated from West Point, linking our officers. And so Officer Soni Jala and the rest of the team were exonerated by our professional standard division. And our professional standard division called for a criminal investigation involving those that were on the scene, family members that were on the scene of the incident, to be invited for questioning. The family took objection to our professional standard investigation, and the matter was referred to the Civilian Complaint Review Board, CCRB. And the Civilian Complaint Review Board is headed by one of the most respectable lawyers of Liberia, Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, who is head of the Liberia Bar Association. And that board comprised of the civil society, represented by Cecil Griffiths of Linley, the Liberia Law Enforcement Agency. The Liberia National Police has a representation to that board. The Independent Human Rights Commission has a representation to the Civilian Complaint Review Board. And that representation is a lawyer. And of course, from all of the investigations conducted by the Civilian Complaint Review Board, the report has now been forwarded to the Inspector General of Police. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I am pleased to announce to you that the Civilian Complaint Review Board, headed by Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, has found none of the officers of the Liberia National Police that responded in West Point during the state of emergency liable for whatever went wrong in West Point. Our officers have been exonerated. There was no whatsoever link of any of the officers who responded on the scene in West Point to the death of little Francis Mensah. And so we want to appreciate the works of the Civilian Complaint Review Board for looking into this matter, because this is an independent institution that sits between the public and the police to look into matters that the public is not satisfied, or to look into issues, ethical issues involving the Liberia National Police, and you may say the joint security in general. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I am also pleased to inform you on behalf of the Liberia National Police of findings into reports of police brutality in Lofa County involving some of our officers of late. Based upon our investigation into the Kulahun Lofa County incident of torture, cruelty, inhumane, and degrading treatment against some residents of Kolahun alleged by officers assigned in Kolahun District, Lofa County, the authority of the Liberia National Police has with immediate effect taken the following actions. That the following officers, namely Inspector Christian Taylor, General Commander, Patrolman Francis M. Soma, Patrolman Frank A. Williams, and Patrolman Jacob F. Fomba, are relieved of their post with immediate effect and suspended for time indefinite of their jobs without pay and turned over to the Crime Services Division for further investigation to their involvement in the handcuffing, questioning, and the beating of Madam Janet Ndebe, Mr. Ndebe Harris, Mr. J. Patrick Fumba, and Madam Jatu Ndebe, residents of Kolahun District, on September 24, 2020, to confess of having knowledge of the deceased, or you may say the death of the late Winder Kamanja of the same address, which is in violation of Section 6.1 of the administrative instructions on discipline and professional standards, which points out to the following offenses: torture, cruelty, inhumane and degrading treatment by any officer of the Liberia National Police. 2. That Sergeant Peter M. Beer and Detective Andrew Tamba are exonerated on grounds that they were out of the town hall in Undawalahun town, a little distance from the scene, compiling reports, while the alleged victims were being beaten and or tortured, but they should be suspended for 1 month of the job without pay for their failure to report the beating and or torture against the victims, which contravenes Chapter 2, Section 1.58, and also Annex 3, Schedule of Discipline and Penalty, Section 3, Category D, lack of truthfulness of the LNP duty manual. I am pleased to let you know, ladies and gentlemen of the press, that this institution, this administration, headed by Honorable Patrick Tosudu, will not condone any act of lawlessness on the part of any of our officers who will breach ethical standards. We ensure that said officer or officers are made to face the full weight of the law. No police officer or officers is above the law. All of us must subscribe to the rule of law. That's why we are law enforcement officers. We must subscribe to the rule of law. Finally, ladies and gentlemen of the press, the Liberia National Police has arrested and is investigating 55 individuals believed to be Guineans living in Monrovia for their involvement in a violent protest at the Guinean embassy on the Tottenham Boulevard, which resulted to bodily injuries of some police officers who were providing security at the Guinean embassy near Monrovia and its surroundings, and also the damage of properties at the Guinean embassy. The suspects are currently being screened, and the process is being conducted in conjunction with the Liberia Immigration Service to establish the national identities of these officers, these protesters, to find out whether they are actually Liberians or Guineans. And I can assure you, members of the press, that those protesters who bear the full responsibility of the protest will be made to face the will of the law. Liberia is a country of laws and not a country of men. And anyone who engages in any act that undermines the peace of our country will be made to face the full will of the law. Finally, let me also inform you, members of the press, there has been misinformation being circulated again on social media and in the press about the arrest of the head of St. Moses Funeral Home. Let us make you understand, Moses is not arrested by the Liberia National Police. There has been no arrest warrant whatsoever up for Moses' arrest. Moses has been invited by the police to explain what he knows about 3 of our citizens that got drowned or that are missing since their departure to Bon County, specifically Bon Mines. Moses is cooperating with the Liberia National Police. Yesterday, he was invited. He turned out with his lawyer. Today, he has come back and is cooperating with our investigators. We'd like to let those of you that are interested in putting up misinformation to the public to desist. The press and public affairs of the Liberia National Police is clothed with the responsibility to put out police information to the public. Anyone who does so, especially providing false information to the public, has to desist. You will not expect that I will say we arrest said person, but we are urging you, those of you that are in the business of putting out falsehood to the public, to desist, because it's counterproductive and it undermines our investigations. It further derails the peace of our country. To those of the citizens of our country who have been in the habit of going to the business house of Moses, the St. Moses Funeral Home, to demonstrate and preventing people from entering the premises of Moses, we are asking you to desist. Liberia is a country of laws. Let's learn to approach issues on the basis of the laws. To prevent one's freedom of movement it contravenes the Constitution and it undermines the rule of law. This is an investigation that we are conducting to establish the fact. We urge our citizens, the families of the 3 Liberians in whom their whereabouts are unknown, we urge you to remain very calm. We urge you to cooperate with our investigators so that we can establish what really went wrong. And please desist from taking laws into your own hands, because the LNP will not hesitate to ensure that anyone who engaged in any lawless act will be made to face the full weight of the law. Thank you so much. And at this juncture, we'll turn the floor over to the head of press and public affairs of the Liberia Immigration Service to provide you some updates from the Liberia Immigration Service. Honorable Dolly, you are welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, Mr. Chairman of the Joint Security Media Team, I want to use this medium to say hats off to you for giving us this platform to speak to Liberia on national issue. And also bring you greeting from the Commissioner General of the Liberia Immigration Service, Commissioner Robert W. Booty, and the gallant men and women that are clothed with the responsibility of keeping border security. On October 22nd, the Liberia Immigration Service officers assigned at the Liberia National Airport arrested 3 Sierra Leoneans 2 male and a female. They were attempting to board a flight. They were attempting to board a flight, cute Arrow 905 en route to Dubai. During the investigation, it was established that the 3 questions did not have entry stamp, which also gave us the ground to believe that the 3 persons entered Liberia illegally, which is a violation of the Liberia National Law of Liberia, Section 5.90, which is also pursuant to a fine of $1,000 and imprisonment of 1 year or both, based on the description of the Commissioner General, Commissioner Robert W. Body Sr. The 3 persons in question are Mohammed S. Kamara, age 31, with a valid passport number ER 210587. Abdullah Ibrahim, age 25, with a valid passport number ER 212349, and Mabantu Kuma, age 31, with valid passport number ER 122959. The 3 persons in question are currently undergoing preliminary investigation. It has been established that the 3 persons in question are victims of human trafficking. So what we have been doing at the level of the Liberia Immigration Service is to contact the relevant embassy near Monrovia as to the status of those individuals that are in Liberia. We are also making frantic effort to establish the whereabouts of the individual that was definitely harboring them in Monrovia, so that we can establish as to how, by what means, he or she was getting them out of Liberia, when in fact Sierra Leone also have a genuine and legitimate airport that could be used for any international flight. The Professional Standard Division of the Liberia Immigration Service has charged 4 officers for extortion, solicitation of kickback and bribes, which run contrary to the Code of Conduct of the Liberia Immigration Service, Section 5.90, which talks about integrity-related misconduct. So the 4 officers in question have been suspended for 2 months without pay, and the 4 officers in question are Officers Momo Code, Officers Euphemia Bowie, Zach Roberts, and Peter Colley. We want to show the general public that are under the stewardship of the Commissioner General, Commissioner Robert W. Body Sr., the Liberia Immigration Service will not renege in dealing with any officers that will run contrary to the professional standard and the code of conduct that seems to be guarding every officer in the discharge of their duty. The Liberia Immigration Service is also working closely with the Liberia National Police to establish the statuses of the 55 persons believed to be a Guinean that were arrested quite recently doing a demonstration near the Guinean embassy in Monrovia. The Liberia Immigration Service was also established as to whether each of those individuals are a resident holder, whether they have a valid resident. You can be a resident holder, but your resident is valid. Once you are a resident holder and your resident is not valid, it also violates the Alien National Law of Liberia, which shows that any violators could pay a fine of $1,000 into government cover. We want to show the public that are going to do everything with the Liberia National Police jointly to make sure that we adjudicate those individuals fast, and those that will be found culpable will be dealt with in keeping with the law. I thank you very much.
Well, that's the Liberia Immigration Service, the head of the Press and Public Affairs, Honorable Abraham Dollar, providing you updates from the Liberia Immigration Service. And thank you so much, my dear esteemed colleague from the Liberia Immigration Service, for making sure that we can proactively, inform our public about happenings at our joint security institutions. Thank you so much. At this juncture, we turn the panel over to our head of media relations.
Well, I would like to say to the officials sitting at the head of this table, Honorable Carter and AD from the Immigration Bureau, thanks for the deliberation. And for each media institution here, we can make 2 questions, please. First, you. Yeah. Tell us where you're from and your name. Pose the question, please.
My name is Never Jinobo. I work for the Youth Public Trust and that's independent environment.
Oh, New Public Trust.
My question has to do with Mr. Carter. You confirmed this morning that one suffering was in your custody connected or has the phone of the late Abba Peters and Victim Lama laptops over there. So I would like to know where the particular individual arrested and brought under your deliberation. Mr. Dolly, I would also like to know whether your institution is involved in investigating the national identification handicap fraud that is ongoing.
Okay, so let me start by saying to you that Supreme, the name Supreme for us as investigators, and as an LMP, leadership, is something that our investigators are prone to. Supreme is currently in our custody at the headquarters of the LMP. To talk about where he was arrested, Supreme was arrested in Monrovia based on an investigative tip-off. And that's when he was arrested, and those items belonging to Gifty, Lama, and Albert Peters were retrieved. The iPhone and the computer. Those items are currently in the possession of the Liberia National Police for investigative purposes. Thank you.
Whether as to whether we are involved with the investigation, the ongoing investigation of the National Identification Registry, we are indeed part of that. We are indeed part of that for the fact that the Liberia Immigration Service is also an institution that second officers to the National Identification Registry to scrutinize individuals that want to obtain Liberia National ID card. So we are part of that process, and we are going to make sure that we do all we can do under the stewardship of our commissioner body to make sure that we give our first commitment and support.
Just one question to EBP has to do with 4 persons that you said got arrested from allegedly selling throughout Dubai.
No, they were arrested at Liberia National Airport, using the Liberia National Airport as a transit point.
Now, my question is, we are already so involved in part of this ECOWAS countries. Don't you think you will say
No, we have had cases of this nature almost so many times. This is not the first instance or instances. Some 2 months back, we apprehended 22 Sierra Leoneans who are also using the Liberia National Airport as a transit point to go to Turkey, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Then after we established contact with the embassy, the Commissioner General set up a team headed by the Head of Security to repatriate those 22 individuals to Sierra Leone, and that was also done. So what we are doing currently, they are victims of human trafficking. So we established contact with the Sierra Leone embassy near Monrovia to have informed that 3 of the citizens were victims of human trafficking and they are in our custody.
Yeah, my name is Agustin Tito and I report for the Front Page African newspaper. To the police program, Mr. Carter, I want to know earlier on the case that has to do with the late Francis Mensah from West Point that you mentioned. the parents education and talk to the health of the Liberia National Police, demanding the police to turn over the case. Now, according to you, the police forwarded the case for investigation. But you are the same spokesperson for the police delivering the result. Why is the head Tiabon not have done so?
That's a very good question. When the Surveillance Complaint Review Board conducts investigation, that the outcome of that investigation per the law is forwarded to the Liberia National Police.
Do you think the family will still have confidence in you?
I appreciate that I finished my point. Thank you. So it's forwarded to the Liberia National Police, and the Liberia National Police has to react to the outcome of the report. What we are providing you today is on the basis of the report that we received from the Surveillance Complaint Review Board. So it's for the Surveillance Complaint Review Board to call their own press conference. What we are telling you is basically what we have received, and it's up to you as a journalist to find out from the Surveillance Complaint Review Board whether what we have communicated is true or is not true.
Now, my second question has to do with the deceased auditors, those or relatives.
Who are the auditors?
Those auditors, family who have refused to
who are the auditors?
For autopsy.
Who are the auditors?
Peter and that of Lama. Gifty.
Gifty Lama was not an auditor.
I'm saying.
No. He said these auditors.
Okay, so
you see, let me let you know this. You members of the press have to understand when provide these clarities, you have to take these clarities in. You want to do your verification. Gifty Lama was not an auditor in the service of the LRA. She was a research analyst, but yet some of you are still making the word to understand that Gifty Lama was an auditor, and that's not true.
Okay, the question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the families who you earlier talked about, Bob Potter, the autopsy. President, we have quote unquote made a statement that a boyfriend from Iraq got killed. Do you think this last state that decided to lose confidence to the
Okay, so I'm not the secretary.
But you have
No. You have to allow me to land, please. I'm not press secretary in the office of the president.
But you investigate the case.
Hold on just a minute. Please allow me to seal it. I'm just trying to lay a premise. I'm not the press secretary in the office of the president. But in this instance, we definitely have to go beyond to verify the context of the statement that was made. I didn't in the first instance understand what the president said. And so I had to make myself to understand what the president really said. What did the president say? He said, the president spoke. And I just realized that the president spoke from a conditional perspective. Even if they were boyfriend or girlfriend. And perhaps the president, I'm saying perhaps because I don't speak for the office of the president, and I'm saying perhaps the president must have been reacting to some of the misinformation that was out there. The two people were girlfriend, boyfriend, and all of that. All right? But if someone makes a conditional statement, say, even if they were boyfriend or girlfriend, that person is not saying they were boyfriend or girlfriend. But sometimes people have the tendency to move the word even and say they were boyfriend or girlfriend. Even if they were boyfriend or girlfriend, they not deserve to die. Even. But some other person says somewhere and say, let's take the word even from there and say they're boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay? But that's up to the office of the president to react to that. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ibrahim Soli. I'd like to know from you on the reported deaths that is analyzed as in your voice from LRA and the auditors. Since the autopsy has been conducted, is that the final from their demise, or is there any report pending from the police on forensic examination? If yes, how far have the police gone with that forensic examination? Basically, the materials, the bodies that were retrieved,
has there been any discovery or any information gathered by the police that the police want the public to know about? That's one thing. The next thing here is, recently, a few days ago, the police sent certain officers, some of its officers in Bombay, to do an investigation. We know that you told the update that yes, Mr. Moses is coming here and he's responding, helping the police. What preliminary investigation or findings have the police gathered so far that the family can hear or the family can receive from the police so that they can actually be at ease, like telling them to bear patience, to remain calm? Is there any update from the investigation that you also went on the scene of recent?
Okay, so let's talk about the autopsy that was just conducted. Like I said to you, the autopsy that was conducted in a full glare of civil society institutions, members of the press, the family, of some of the persons who passed off. The pathologists, trained Liberian pathologists, and let me let you know, Soli, there were claims that why didn't the Liberian government, pay for foreign pathologists to come to conduct this autopsy? Why did we train these two people? Did we train them to make them useless or to make them useful? We train these people to make them useful. When I mean we, the international community, UNDP, spend a lot of money in these two doctors, medical doctors, to specialize them in the field of pathology. Is it a good business for us to always go out there and take foreign pathologists and bring them here to do autopsy? Is it a very good precedent? What will happen eventually is no one will trust any of these people. Every time a suspicious death is occurred, people will say, we don't want Liberian pathologists to conduct autopsy. We want foreign pathologists. So then the question is, what was the essence of training these Liberian pathologists? If we don't trust our own, we don't trust ourselves, who will trust us? And I said to one of the local media institutions, the fact that someone is saying we don't trust Liberian pathologists, it means that that person is validating the fact that we should bring foreigners to run our country. Because we don't trust ourselves. Why don't we have foreigners running front page Africa? Why don't we have foreigners running a very media institution? We have Liberians. Aren't you competent to run an institution? You are competent. And some of the people who say don't trust the Liberian pathologists have not pinpointed to anything that they have done wrong. Because we expected them to say the last process that was conducted was, tampered with, it was manipulated, and all of that. But we don't hear that. Before you discredit someone, there must be a reason for why you must discredit that person. And there has not been no reason. Why should we discredit our own pathologists? Why? So the autopsy result, according to the pathologist, will come in 2 weeks as the end of autopsy on Tuesday. Now, the basis of the autopsy is to establish cause of death. That's why it is called a post-mortem examination. Because if you were being treated at a hospital, diagnosed and examined at the hospital will determine what killed you. But the fact that the hospital has not determined what killed you and they only pronounce you dead on arrival, it means we must conduct a post-mortem examination to establish what killed this person. So usually when people say the man was killed, then we ask who killed the man.